There's hundreds of moments to define the career, the legacy, and the kind of guy that Kobe Bryant was. But today, it's only right if we look at 24 of them. Kobe's incredible work ethic wasn't something he just picked up in the NBA one day, because the stories of it date back to high school. Because even back then, he used to show up to practice at the gym every day at 5 a.m. and leave at 7 a.m., leaving him just enough time to get home right when everyone else and every other player was just waking up. And if you thought that was his practice for the day, you're wrong. Because after the team's official practice, he used to make his teammates stay and play games of one-on-one with him to 100. And that's impressive as it is, but the even crazier part was the fact that the most a teammate ever scored on him was 12. They had 12, Kobe had 100. And this happened on a pretty regular basis. And things like that helped him make it into the league on the Lakers, where soon after he made it clear exactly what he wanted out of the NBA. When a young Kobe Bryant once told Gary Payton that he was going to become the Lakers' #1 all-time scorer, win 5 or 6 championships, and be better than Michael Jordan. At the time, Gary laughed at him and brushed it off, but Kobe wasn't laughing, and Payton realized later on that it really wasn't funny because he accomplished 2 out of the 3 of those things and made a pretty close case for the 3rd. And again, all those things came because of hard work all of his life. Like when he was in his rookie season and veteran teammate Byron Scott came into the Lakers practice facility, expecting to be the first one there because all the lights were still out, but found an 18-year-old Kobe Bryant shooting in the dark and realizing that he had been there for 2 hours. Byron stood there watching him and told himself, this kid's gonna be great. And Kobe was just getting started at that point. Soon after, head coach Phil Jackson said, if Kobe can add a consistent 18 to 20 foot jump shot like MJ's to his arsenal, he'll be practically unstoppable. And that was all he needed to hear because it was reported by the Los Angeles Times that summer in the offseason he shot until he had 2,000 makes every single day. And to put that into comparison, Ray Allen would work out by making about 500 a day. So he was putting up 4 times as many shots as Ray Allen. And that shows that he was definitely outworking him. But he was also outworking all of his teammates. Former Laker John Celestin tells a story that in 1999, Kobe Bryant broke his wrist, and John actually got excited because it meant that he could finally beat Kobe into practice and be the first one there. So he walked in the next day earlier than usual, hears a ball bouncing, and sees Kobe in a full sweat with a cast on his right hand, shooting and dribbling with his left instead. Then you fast forward a couple years to his first three-peat with Shaq, where the popular argument comes in on if Kobe or Shaq was better, and if Kobe only won those championships because Shaq carried him. Now both men were equally as dominant as a 1-2 punch, but I will admit at that time Shaq was the better player. But to Bryant's credit, what most people forget about is their age at this time. During their first title, Shaq was in his 8th season in the league and 27 years old, entering his prime, while Kobe was in just his 3rd year straight out of high school as a 21-year-old. But surprisingly, people didn't see it that way at the time. During their three-peat though, Jay Williams tells a story about how when he was a rookie during a regular season game, he walked into the arena to get some shots up before it started, and of course Kobe was already in there, and Jay said he was practicing full-on game moves. About an hour passed and Jay was headed back to the locker room, but Kobe was still going just as hard as he was when Jay walked in. The Lakers won the game, and after it, he went up to Kobe and asked why he was working so hard. And Kobe said, I saw you come in and I wanted you to know that no matter how hard you work, I'm gonna outwork you. And Jay was so surprised because he was a nobody rookie at the time, and that Kobe went that far to just send a message to him. After the three-peat was over though, Kobe had 3 championships, but was hungrier than ever to win more without Shaq. And that far helped lead him to the legendary game where he scored 62 points in 3 quarters and outscored the entire Mavericks team. Phil Jackson asked if he wanted to stay in the game to get 70, and he said, nah, I'll get it another time. And about 1 month later he did, when he put up 81 points and the 2nd most points ever recorded by a single player in a game. Up until this point in his career, he had gained some criticism over being a ball hog and an inefficient player, but on 60% shooting, 53% from 3, and 90% from the line, the only thing that could be said this night was that the man was on a hot streak like we've never seen before. About a year later in 2006, Kobe went down to a camp to meet with OJ Mayo, who at the time was the #1 high school prospect in the country. They were planning a workout together, and Kobe said be there at 3. So OJ showed up the next day at 3 and Kobe never showed. The day after, OJ asked where he was, and Bryant said 3 a.m. not p.m. I'm pretty sure he really never expected OJ to show up at that time. It was more of a lesson for him to see what it takes to be as good as he was. Now, one of the biggest complaints that Kobe haters had was that he was always too cocky, but his former teammate Laren Profit sees it differently. During a game in 2005, Kobe had a terrible first half, so Laren asked him how he felt, and Kobe said, "I feel great, the second half's coming up. I've worked too hard, I've prepared so much and shot so many shots that they have to start falling eventually." And it might not seem like much, but that story's actually huge, because I feel like it would change the perspective that a lot of people had for him. He believed in himself so much because he knew what he had done behind closed doors. He knew how good he was. And because not everyone saw the countless hours that he put in, it often came off the wrong way when it was truly justified. Even after all of his personal and team success though, unlike a lot of people, Bryant's work ethic never changed. And in this instance, during the 2008 Olympics, all of the league's best players were there. On the first day, they came down for breakfast at 8 a.m, where they ran into Kobe, who was drenched in sweat, with ice on both knees, and it's clear that he was sending the same message that he sent to Jay Williams years ago to all of the best players in the league, and was showing them that nobody there was gonna outwork him. Then you move ahead to the 2012 Olympics, and the stories continue, where on the first night before the camp started, Kobe and his trainer went on a 40-mile bike ride through the desert while everyone else was inside relaxing. They got back at 2 a.m, but of course Bryant was still the first one in the gym the next morning. Then during the same Olympics, Kobe met a trainer that told him to call him if he ever wanted to get any extra workouts in. So Kobe calls him a few days later at 4:15 a.m, asking him to work out. By the time the trainer showed up, Kobe had already been working out for about an hour. And the next morning came around, and at 11 a.m. the trainer walked up to Kobe, who was shooting, and said, "Good workout this morning, when'd you finish?" And Kobe replied with, "I wanted to make 800 shots before I quit, so just now." And all the stories like this led to Michael Jordan saying Kobe's done the work to deserve the comparison to his work ethic. And he's not the only one, because Phil Jackson said that Kobe actually trained harder than MJ, which is saying a lot. But then switching gears, we can look back at one of the many injuries that he's played through, and this one's special, because by 2009 his index finger had already been injured for a couple of seasons, but then he fractured it. And he could have sat out 4 to 8 weeks to let it heal, but instead he taped it to his other finger, played the entire season, and then led his team to an NBA championship and won Finals MVP. I mean, some stories make you think that this man wasn't human. And 2010 was huge for him, because by now he had done 2 of the 3 things that he told Gary Payton he was gonna do. Because that year he passed Jerry West as the all-time leader in Lakers points and won his 5th title. His goal in the NBA was to pass Michael Jordan, but he was 1 title from tying him and was able to make as possibly close as anyone could have. And the fact that he came that close and did 2 out of the 3 things he said he was gonna do deserves a mention. But then the next couple of years for him were slow, and that was thanks to tearing his Achilles, where he famously walked back on the court, made 2 free throws to tie the close game before walking back to the locker room. At the time it wasn't a big deal because clearly no one knew besides Kobe how bad of an injury it was. But with the game being as close as it was, Kobe would have had to have not been able to move to miss out on shooting those free throws. And the fact that he did it without a single sign of pain adds to the legend of Kobe Bryant, and inspired a guy like Richard Sherman to do the same when he tore his. And then you fast forward a couple of years to his farewell tour and his final NBA game against the Utah Jazz. Shaq told him to get 50, and not only did he go get 60, but he made multiple clutch shots down the stretch, bringing his team back and leading them to victory. Now honestly, throughout the game the ball was given to him nearly every possession, and it would have been hard for him to not get at least 50, but still the fact that he did made that night possibly the greatest last game in NBA history. And the fact that he also finished with more rings than Shaq was huge. There were always talks on who was better between the two, and if Kobe could win championships alone. So number 24's mission was to win one without Shaq, and he won 2 and actually almost three-peated again without him, putting to bed those rumors and cementing his legacy as one of the greatest to ever do it. But then after he retired, he had to transition away from the game and tackle other business ventures. So he went to billionaire Chris Sacca for help. Chris didn't think he would take it serious, so he gave Kobe a list of TED Talks to watch and books to read to slowly deny him. Little did he know, Bryant would message and call him in the middle of the night, nearly every night for the next several months about the material, picking every bit of his brain that he could. And that's just the guy that he was in every aspect of his life, which played a part in his worldwide popularity from the US to Italy to China. And he's actually more famous in China than he is in America, and that's thanks to him being such an iconic figure. Which is why after his passing, we've seen nearly every player, celebrity, and entertainer either brought to tears or at least left with a good story to tell about their interactions with Kobe Bryant. He affected and inspired every single NBA player coming up today that's in their 20s, and left an impact on all of his former teammates and opponents, and inspired just as many people in every other industry. His work ethic, his legacy, and his moments as a father will never be forgotten. And those, along with these 24 stories, will always live on as a part of the legend of Kobe Bryant.